So this UFO situation is getting wild, guys, or as the authorities would call it, this mystery drone situation. So I'm going to discuss some breaking news, some new developments that are happening with it, including these craft now following FBI agents back to their house. And I'll also explain what I think is happening and how it ties into what's called simulator theory. And I know that makes a lot of people uneasy because it challenges what you believe reality is, which I think might be the point of all of this. And also tie this back to the great airship mystery of the 1800s, one of the most wild stories that you've probably never heard of, but it will shine a lot of light on what's happening right now with this current UFO flap. So first of all, let's talk about what is happening. Well, these UFO have been seen all over the world at some of the most restricted airspace over some of our, most sensitive Air Force bases in the world, but also at top secret nuclear test sites. And now they seem to be kind of centralized over New Jersey, which is kind of weird. But what people are seeing has morphed over the last couple weeks. What were first described as like quadricopter type drones and then as like orbs of light are now being described as small airplanes. Now this is very odd because I'm about to play a video for you that's going to show one of these airplanes, and I want you to listen to the girl's voice because you can tell a lot by a human reaction. Now there's dozens of these videos. If you follow me on X, you can see a lot of them there, and they all kind of say the same thing. It looks like an airplane, but it's not, okay? And you have to put yourself in the shoes of the person. They're talking about these things being just right at the tree level, right above houses, right? Like 100, 200 feet in the air, and that they're the size of like a car, not the size of a plane, okay? And they're not going hundreds of miles an hour. They're going like 20 miles an hour, but they're playing the sound. They say it's like a simulated sound where it sounds like a big airplane way up in the sky, but it's not. It's like right there. And it's really freaking these people out because it doesn't make sense. They're looking at it, it's changing shape. Sometimes they stop and they turn. Sometimes they disappear. They're not landing. A lot of times there's no airports nearby. None of it makes any sense at all. And it's really freaking these people out. But when you just see a picture of it, you're like, duh, that's an airplane, dude. You're losing your mind. But you have to listen to these people. I mean, there's dozens of these videos of people just freaking out because what they're seeing is blowing their mind and shaking them to their foundation of what reality is. Yet on a cell phone video, it doesn't look that impressive. So here, I'm gonna play this video and listen to the girls' reaction to what they're seeing.
It's really huge.
And it's huge.
It's so big. It looks so much closer in person.
Yeah, my camera doesn't do, it looks like a spaceship, right? Like that doesn't look like a drone, right? That looks like a spaceship. It's like a small plane. It really is like a small plane. Oh my God.
That's wild, isn't it? I mean, it really kind of gives you goosebumps. So this is happening all over the place. Now, what does this have to do with the great airship mystery of the 1800s? Man, this is one of my favorite stories. If you don't know, in the late 1800s, this is before the first Zeppelin took flight. This is many years before that, many years before airplanes were invented. We had this airship mystery where there was these giant airships that were seen all over America at some big cities like San Francisco and places like that, seen by thousands of people. And this went on for years. And these airships were reported to be doing all sorts of things that didn't make any sense. They had like lots of propellers on them that didn't seem to be doing much. They had sails, they had lights that were going in all sorts of different directions. This is before we had lights and stuff like that in this way. They had speakers that were like playing sound, like weird sounds, even voices and music and that kind of stuff from the sky. Sometimes they would land and there would be occupants that could be seen, described as like almost like steampunk looking people, but like too tall, too lanky, heads were too big, like things that just didn't make sense. So at first glance, they would see this and they'd be like, well, it's kind of like, I can kind of wrap my mind around what this thing is, even though back then the way of thinking was if humans were supposed to fly, God would have given us wings. So we didn't think, like the average person didn't think we were capable of flying. That's why the Wright brothers thing was such a big deal. So here's these things flying all around these major cities in the newspapers and everything. So what was going on? Well, no one knows. A lot of people ridiculed everyone, said that they were hallucinating or it was, Venus or whatever, all the basic things. But like some prominent people saw this and wrote books. There's many good books about it and everything. And at the end of the day, no one knows what happened. But for a couple of years, there were these, at the time, advanced craft flying all around, doing things that didn't make sense. But soon after that, it spurred this technological advancement for us. We did invent the Zeppelin, balloons, and we did invent powered manned flight with the Wright brothers, and that did lead to all the things we have today. So the great airship mystery, although it is a mystery, you can see it as this, it was this stick and carrot kind of developmental push that got us through this consciousness bottleneck that we were in at the time. And it seems to be this benevolent, like, good thing for humanity, even though at the time it was very weird and was really unnerving people, right? Now, this happened again in the 40s and 50s with the flying saucer thing, where people would see these flying saucers and they kind of looked retro-like. They'd have like antennas on them. Even when people saw the insides of them, they had like little levers and little joysticks and stuff, that the people at the time would be like, okay, that kind of looks like a futuristic flying craft. But now that we look back on it, we'd be like, why would an alien that is millions of years ahead of us technologically, like, have like little joysticks and little levers and stuff? It didn't make any sense. At the time it did, but now looking back, it doesn't, right? And I think that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing something that's just like all these other scenarios, just like Ezekiel's will and all these things in the past. It was always slightly out of your grasp of, you know, technologically and consciously and spiritually and, you know, engineering wise. It was always right outside of your grasp. Like, you could look at it and say, okay, it's kind of familiar. I kind of understand what's going on, but on another level, I don't. And I think that is what gets us all, you know, like, going inside to try to figure out what this thing is, reverse engineer it. It also expands your aperture of what's possible, because you're looking at this thing, we're seeing it, we're like, these girls and all these people are seeing these craft all over these bases and everything, and all over New Jersey are looking at it going, I don't know what that is. Like, I know what a drone is, I know what a helicopter is, I know what a plane is, I know what a UFO should be. That's none of these things. Like, these people are seeing these things and they don't have an explanation. The military, the Pentagon is stumped. They don't have an explanation. The FBI is sending their agents out. The FBI doesn't know what's going on. And then these craft are being reported now following the FBI back home and harassing them at their homes. This is the hitchhiker effect that was talked about in the book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. It's very fascinating, but it's part of this paranormal aspect of the phenomenon. So what we're seeing here, although at first glance looks like an airplane, duh, I understand the absurdity of this, but just like Jacques Vallée would talk about, there is an absurdity to the trickster element of the phenomenon. There always has been. This situation that's going on here at these bases in the UK, at all of these bases in America, and now around New Jersey, doesn't make a lot of sense. And it makes people like me look crazy, because if I come out and say things like, hey, this could be a projection from the simulator, or from, I guess, the designers, controllers of the simulator, as a stick and carrot, you know, technological development approach to get us to get outside of our comfort zone and think bigger and actually lead to a new shift in consciousness, you know, like, if I say that, it sounds crazy, right? But no one else has an explanation. So, hey, take it or leave it. At least I'm out here thinking, right? So what is happening is strange. It's ongoing. It seems to be accelerating. It seems to be becoming more bold, even though there's a heightened intelligence and military and police presence at all these places. They seem to be coming in larger numbers. They seem to be changing. It seems to be like not intimidated at all by us. And it seems like we don't have any control over our airspace whatsoever. And I don't think the people in charge have any idea what's going on. And maybe they should see this video, because whether I'm right or wrong, I think at least it could get people to start thinking differently and bigger. And there's a good chance that that is entirely the entire point of this scenario. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your thoughts. Have a beautiful day. Peace.